Hi, welcome. In this video today I talk about 3 lenses every photographer needs.
My name is Benjamin Jaworskyj, photographer and adventurer. 10 years ago, I started to teach myself photography. Today, I travel the world as a professional photographer and filmmaker. Learn from my experiences, mistakes and tips and join me on my photography adventures.
A lot of people ask me, Ben, what lenses do you use? What lenses can you recommend? What is maybe the best lens? And I want to give you some quick overview over the most common lenses to use and what they are for and which lenses I prefer, what are my favorites. I have 3 lenses here with me, and the first one you've maybe seen already is a 16 to 35 millimeter ultra wide angle zoom lens, and that is my landscape lens, and it's very common to use it in landscape photography. Nikon photographers might use some other lenses. They have the 14 to 24, I think, so it's quite a bit more wide angle, but in general you can say wide angle in landscape photography is a good thing. You can play with perspective, and 16 to 35 millimeter means that you can photograph on 16, you can photograph on 35, you can photograph on 24, somewhere in the middle, so you can change your focal length all with one lens. You don't have to change what is actually good in landscape photography. And you have a f 4.0 on that lens. There are as well 16 to 35 2.8 lenses. They are a bit more expensive. I will talk about that later with another lens as well. I, in most of the situations, use the 16 to 35 4.0 by Sony. I have a 2.8 as well, but an A-mount lens. It's an older lens. It's great as well, but this one is very lightweight, very small, and I can recommend a wide-angle zoom lens for everybody who wants to photograph landscapes. Oh, before I forget it, everything I talk about is full frame talk. So if you have APS-C camera or Micro Four Third, it's a different focal length, but all in all it's the same. If I say super wide angle, it's super wide angle for you as well. If I say tele, for example, it's the same. That's the next thing. This great lens, a 70 to 200 millimeter lens. And also for landscape photography, it's a good lens because you don't always can photograph in wide angle. Sometimes things are more far away and you want to have them closer in your image, and that's why you use a tele lens. Or for wildlife, if you have a bird or a tiger, a dragon somewhere flying around and you want to capture it very huge in your image, then you use a tele lens. And a good one is a 70 to 200 millimeter. Depending what camera brand you are using, you should choose your lens. I, for example, use Sony. That's why I have the 70 to 200 millimeter Sony lens, but I as well have a very huge tele lens in 300 millimeter. It's a Sigma EF lens, and I use it with a converter. About a converter I will talk about with the other lens as well. This lens has a 4.0 open aperture, but the longer your focal length is, the blurrier your background gets anyway. I really like the 2.8 as well, no matter if it's a Canon 70 to 200 millimeter, a Sigma 70 to 200 millimeter, a Nikon 70 to 200 millimeter. The 2.8 always looks amazing, but you don't always need it. It's much heavier and it's of course much more expensive. That's why I choose the 4.0. I tested the other one as well, but this is more lightweight, and for my purposes in landscape photography and everything, this is totally fine. So 70 to 200 millimeter tele lens, always a good thing to have in your backpack. And the last lens, oh, don't throw that expensive lenses, is a prime lens. And about prime lenses, I talked already in several other videos. I really like prime lenses, and if I hadn't to change lenses all the time, I would have only prime lenses because the quality is very good. Usually you have a very open aperture and you just have a great image quality. That's why whenever I can, I use a prime lens. But in landscape photography, for example, I don't use a prime because I have to change then lenses all the time. I like to be a bit more flexible. But for portrait photography, for example, or for filming, in this situation right now, we use a prime lens, and one of my favorite prime lenses is a 35mm 1.4. It's not so much about the brand, but I really like the Sigma one. It's a 2 years old lens, I think, in 2018, and I have it now as well for 2 years. It has a very nice bokeh. It's kind of wide-angle-ish, but with a blurry background. It's a very crisp and sharp lens, just great to take portraits, to take nice hipster-like, Instagram-ish images, and yeah, just a great lens. As well for landscape photography, for astrophotography, if you need an open aperture for that. This lens has a lot of chromatic aberrations and chroma at night, so be aware of that, but it's a great lens anyway, and whatever prime lens you can afford, invest in a prime lens, it's a good thing. 50mm as well, 24mm we are filming right now on the 24 1.4 here, just testing purpose. You can write in the comments if you like that look as well. It's a bit more handheld and maybe a bit shaky and stuff. And yeah, so those are the 3 lenses I can definitely recommend. Sum it together: a prime lens with a very open aperture, a 35 1.4 I like a lot. Then a 70-200 a zoom tele lens, always good, and for landscape photography and everything, which should be a bit more wide angle-ish, a 16-35mm, great choice. I put everything in the description as well, and of course tell me, what is your favorite lens? Write it in the comments below. And I think with that pack, 3 lenses, you can photograph like everything you want. In every situation, every scenario, it should be somehow good. Write me your opinion in the comments below. And quick commercial, if you want to learn more about landscape photography or about filmmaking, check out learnfromben.com. This is my website, and there you find several courses about that topics. learnfromben.com. See you in the next video. Bye bye, hit thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel.